In Egyptian society, cats seem to have had three distinct roles. They were pest controllers, as they had been for the previous 5,000 years. And from what we know of what was written about their role at the time, the Egyptians valued them particularly for their ability to chase snakes away. It seems a little bit bizarre nowadays to think that cats are good predators of snakes. There isn't much evidence for them preying on snakes anywhere in the world. But the Egyptians evidently thought they were. But nevertheless, I think they must have also just been pest controllers, mice and rats and all those sorts of things. The second role was as household pets. We know that the aristocracy had them as pets, but we also know that quite humble people, craftsmen for example, had them as pets, because there are little sketches made by the people who were building the temples, little pieces, little drawings they'd make on bits of limestone during their lunch breaks, showing their pet cats. So right the way through society, even several thousand years ago, the Egyptians kept cats as pets. Then the third role was that in religion. They previously worshipped a lion goddess called Bastet, and Bastet seemed to become associated with, particularly with domestic cats, and almost lost the association with the lion. What was not so good for cats was that meant that a lot of people wanted mummified cats as offerings to make to the goddess. And so a whole breeding program for cats run by priests started. These cats were killed when they were about a year old, mummified, wrapped up in elaborate wrappings, and then offered for sale at the temple, where you could go along on a feast day, buy a cat, and then give it back to the priests, who would then entomb it for you. And these lasted right the way through in their tombs, right through to the Victorian era, when they were dug up, and many of them were ground up to make into fertilizer. So there were millions and millions of cats were treated in this way. It was a huge industry. It's rather bizarre, I think, to us today to think of how the Egyptians must have viewed cats. So they had pet cats, they had pest-controlling cats, and then they must have known that just behind the temple were lots of cats being killed every day for them to offer up to the goddess. How they squared all of those different attitudes in their minds, we shall never know, but it does seem rather odd to us today.